What's up everyone, my name is Joe and welcome back to Film Focused. Today I'm giving you guys a look into my film camera collection. These are all the cameras that I own. Some of them work and most of them do, but some of them are just collector's items that I keep for my own personal liking. But before we get into talking about the cameras themselves, I do have a pretty big update about the channel. My girlfriend Lizzie and I are moving to Denver, Colorado in just under 1 month. This has been 1.5 years in the making, so we're really psyched, but we're also crazy busy. I'm still running my own business, she's still working. Because we're moving, I have to pack up all of my camera gear, and I thought that would be a good excuse to make this video. I have everything kind of cataloged and organized, and thought it would be fun for you guys to get a look into what I have. Now, with this move, there's going to be a lot of big changes and some updates to the channel. I will be making an update video, kind of giving you a more in-depth idea of what changes are to come and what the move is going to entail with the channel. I will be dropping that video in about a week and a half time, so be on the lookout for that. But for now, let's talk about these cameras. Like I said earlier, most of these work, and most of them I've done a video on this channel before with them. That was a lot of words. But some of them either don't work or I haven't done a video yet. So if there are any cameras that you either want a new video on or an initial video on, let me know in the comments. Yeah. So I guess let's just start from this side and work our way over. Here we have the Pentax 672. This is a 6x7 medium format SLR. This is a beast of a camera, probably my favorite camera that I own. And it is one of the most perfect cameras ever designed, in my opinion. It shoots just like a 35mm SLR, just on steroids because it uses medium format film. A beautiful camera. I have the 105 2.4 lens, which is a legendary lens, and it definitely lives up to the hype. Next up, we actually have my first ever medium format purchase, other than the Holga, but I don't really count that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Mamiya 645 Super. This shoots medium format film as well, but it takes 645 images, which are significantly smaller than 6x7. 645 is immediately larger than 35mm. And even though this is a great camera, I just don't like shooting 645. I have the 150mm 3.5 lens and the 80mm 2.8 lens as well. I'm actually selling this camera. I just don't use it anymore. It's just taking up space, and I think someone else might get better use out of it. So I'm selling. The whole thing works perfectly fine too, by the way. There's nothing wrong with this camera. I have no more use for it. So there will be a link to this down in the description. If you're interested, check it out. Like I said, great camera, awesome entry-level medium format camera, just not what I like to shoot. Next up, we have the Mamiya VII, probably my next favorite camera that I own. This is also a 6x7 medium format camera. However, it's a rangefinder, not an SLR like the Pentax. So this camera, because of the way it's designed and the limitations of a rangefinder system, it's not nearly as good of a portrait camera as the Pentax is. But this is a phenomenal landscape and travel camera. I own the 65mm, which is attached here, and then also the 80mm and the 43mm, and those are all f4 lenses. That's the fastest that this system can shoot. Next up, the Bell & Howell. This is actually, or was actually, a gift from my professor and mentor in art school. Her name's Peggy. Thank you, Peggy. I love this camera. We don't think it works, but I just think it's such a cool part of photo history. I mean, this little dial, I think, advances the film, and you have your shutter release here. A super cool little piece of photo history, in my opinion. Don't think I'll ever use it, but I also don't think I'll ever give it away or sell it. It's just a really cool piece of gear. Next up, we have the Holga. Now, this is a toy camera. It's made of plastic through and through, even the lens. These are great cameras for anyone who's getting into film photography, specifically medium format, because that's what this shoots. These cost like 20 or 30 bucks. Like, they're super, super cheap. But you do get what you pay for. You don't get a real focusing system, and the images are kind of soft, but you can do some cool double exposure stuff and just kind of take this around and get some funky results with it. It's a fun camera to shoot. And like I said, it's super cheap. So I haven't used it in a while, but maybe I'll have to break it out for a new film focused video. Next up, we have the F100, Nikon F100. This is a 35mm SLR. By far, my favorite SLR that I've ever owned. It was popular, really, really popular in the mid-90s. That's when it was in the, mass production. And short of the F5 or the F6, it's really the best Nikon SLR that you can buy. It works with all modern lenses, so I keep my Sigma 35mm 1.4 art lens attached. Pretty much never comes off this camera. But if I wanted to use any of my modern Nikon glass that I have, I can use it with this camera, which is pretty awesome. The only real limitation with these is some modern VR and image stabilization just doesn't work with this camera, but that will work with the F6, I believe. Yeah, awesome SLR, use it all the time, great, lightweight, powerhouse of a camera. Next we have the Nikon L35 AF. This was the One-Shot 2, I believe. Maybe it was a 3. I did do a video on this in the past, so you can check that out. Awesome point-and-shoot camera, has autofocus capability. It reads the DX code of your film, so you can shoot films as fast as 1600 all the way down to 25, I believe. Awesome camera, easy to fit in your pocket, has a flash that you can actually override, so you can shoot with or without it, and it does all of your exposure for you, which is really, really handy. So it is a true point and shoot. Next up, we have a really cool camera that was actually gifted to me by my brother and sister-in-law. This is the Olympus PEN E2, and this is a fully mechanical camera, which is really awesome. And here you see the lens and this little kind of glass circular thing that's happening around there. That's a light meter. So it reads the light of the scene, and then it will automatically set your shutter speed to one of 2 different shutter speeds. And the really cool part about this camera is it's actually a half frame camera. So you can see the viewfinder there is actually vertical. So each frame is actually half of a traditional 35mm frame. So you hold it vertical to shoot horizontal and hold it horizontally to shoot vertically. Pretty cool. So you get 72 images per every roll of 35mm that you put in here. This is fully functioning. I just haven't tested it out yet, so maybe that's something I'll have to do in the near future. Next up, another extremely old camera, and this is probably my most prized possession. And the reason that is this was actually my grandfather's, and he passed away 2 years ago. And we actually never knew that he had this camera or that he was much of a photographer at all. After he passed, we found 4 or 5 photo albums just full of photos. He was in the Navy, so he basically documented all of his experiences and trips and adventures with his best friend Steamboat. That was his nickname. So being the photographer of the family, I asked if I could take this as a keepsake to remember my grandfather by. It's an old Kodak camera that I believe, based on my research, they were made up until 1913 to 1917-ish. This actually shoots 120 film, and it still actually has a film reel inside. It doesn't have any film on it. But I don't think it works anymore. The shutter does, which is pretty cool, but I just keep it as kind of in memoriam of my grandfather. Such an awesome piece of photo history and personal family history, so I really, really love that camera. Here we have the Pentacon 6. This is a 6x6 medium format camera, and this was the second camera that I bought after the Mamiya 645. This is an awesome camera to buy if you're on a budget and you're looking to shoot 6x6. It will cost you a quarter of what a Hasselblad will cost you and give you basically the same exact results. These were workhorse, professional cameras back in the 1960s. I think that's when they were stopped production of these. fully metal, fully mechanical, which is great. However, because they're so old, they can be very fragile. So unless the camera that you buy or you're thinking of buying, don't buy it unless it's been cleaned and serviced and is proven to be working properly. This one does. It has 1 or 2 shutter speeds that do stick, but I used it for like a year and a half, and I don't use it anymore just because I just keep it on my shelf and just admire the beautiful craftsmanship of German engineering from the mid-1900s. Next up, we have the Polaroid Sun 600. This is a classic Polaroid camera. Found it in a thrift shop for $5. Figured why not? It's in really good shape. I just don't know if it works or not, so I'm going to have to buy some film pretty soon after we move and give it a test. So that is that. Here we have a Nikon N7T. This was actually my first 35mm camera that I bought in college. I used my dad's Canon AE1 all through high school when I was shooting film, and then after moving to college, away to college rather, I needed to buy my own camera. Great purchase, super cheap, easy to find. The only downside to these cameras is they can only work in full manual if you have the Nikon D line of lenses. So all of the Nikon lenses that have the aperture ring on the outside of the lens body, so kind of like this, modern Nikon lenses do not have those, so they will technically work, but you'll have no control over your aperture with that camera. But that wasn't an issue in college because I had older lenses when I was in college, but still a cool camera. Keep it around just for fun. Last but not least, the Kodak KB28. And this thing is awesome. I found it right before my brother's and now sister-in-law's wedding back in September of 2017. Decided to take some rolls of film with me to the wedding and shoot away. And this thing is just awesome. It is the perfect quintessential point-and-shoot camera. No focus, plastic lens, a fill flash that fires every time. This camera is awesome. It's a perfect little stealthy camera you can put in your pocket, take with you to the bar or to just a little family event, and maybe on a trip with friends. It's kind of dumb proof. You can't really mess anything up other than putting your finger in front of the lens. So an awesome camera just for your everyday adventures and documentation necessities, whatever. So yeah, I think that does it. That is my entire camera collection. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely did because I've actually never put all of my cameras together on the same table before. So this was actually really fun for me. Like I said earlier, any of these cameras you want a more in-depth video or maybe a new video on, because I've done a handful of videos with all of these cameras, let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, share the video. All of that really, really, really helps. We're almost at, or maybe we're already at 1,300 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. That's so awesome. I'm looking forward to growing this channel. I'm really excited about the move. I hope you guys are too. I hope you guys are excited to just come along on the ride for that. And yeah, let's keep doing awesome things in the world of photography. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the next video.